Hey everyone, gearing up was always a huge part of playing World of Warcraft. If a piece of gear is 0.1% stronger than another one, then that's enough of an incentive to obtain it. Making your character more powerful was always the goal, and that's no different in TBC. And now, with Phase 2 coming out, we have a few new avenues of gearing and catching up on gear in classic TBC. So today we're gonna explore the avenues of gearing that TBC has to offer while going over the new things added in Phase 2 and mention them in the order you should go from easier to harder to gear up your character as fast as possible. That way, if you're a new player that joined the game recently, or if you want to create a new alt, you'll be able to gear up very fast. So without further ado, here's the fastest way to gear up in Phase 2. Let's get into it. So before you reach 70, you need to level obviously, and for a lot of you, that's gonna be through questing, especially now in Phase 2. And believe it or not, some quests around Outland offer some quite strong gear for many classes, sometimes pre-raid BIS gear. One example I like to mention for strong questing gear is the quest Overlord, where you have to kill Arazius the Cruel. You will have to assemble or join a group of 3 to 4 level 60 players to take him on, but doing this quest will reward you with one of the strongest pre-raid BIS trinkets in the game. I actually kept this trinket for a very long time before I replaced it with a Badge of Justice trinket recently on my hunter. But the point is, TBC has a lot of quests like these that offer pre-raid BIS gear. For this reason, you should always look at your pre-raid BIS list before even starting leveling. Because say you'll be playing a Holy Priest at 70, you shouldn't pick the Shadow Spec reward option from those quests, otherwise you'll be missing out on some easy quest gear. So make sure to check your pre-raid BIS list before you even start leveling, or once you're 70 to grab those easy items. Moving on, the next easiest way to grab some strong starter gear at 70 is from the reputation vendors. If you made it to 70, you're more than likely honored with a lot of reputations, and that's a perfect time to go to those reputation quartermasters around the world and look for what they have to offer. At honored, you can find some half-decent things. Then obviously you'll have to push your reps to revered eventually to unlock heroic dungeons. At revered, the options are even better, and so on. And while we're talking about reputation vendors, let's quickly mention the new catch-up gear added in Phase 2, the PvP faction gear. This gear was originally added in the Sunwell patch, but Blizzard announced this time around that they will be adding it sooner to help out PvPers get into PvP more easily. The thing is, this gear is not only good for PvP, but also quite strong for PvE. You only need to be honored to buy it, which we already mentioned how easy it is to reach honored, and this gear is on par with normal or even heroic dungeon gear in some cases. The best part about it is the gloves. The gloves offer a special bonus for each class. For hunters, for example, they increase multi-shot damage by 5%. For paladins, your Judgment of the Crusader does more damage, and so on. So make sure to go over reputation vendors and grab some of this gear to not only help you out in PvP, but also have some decent starter gear for PvE. Moving on, we have blue BOEs. Classic TBC having ran its course for over 2 months now means that a lot of gear dropped in value significantly. So this is a perfect opportunity to get some very strong gear for very cheap. One example is the Valanos Longbow, a go-to easy to obtain bow for hunters, before they can farm Steamvault Heroic or Shattered Holes to get reputation. And this dropped in value a lot, going down to 16 gold currently on my server, Pyro Village EU. I remember buying this for over 100 gold at the start of Phase 1. And the reason why this blue gear is so cheap is simple. People are obtaining these left and right, so the supply is increasing while the demand for those is at its lowest now, so the price dropped a lot. So make sure to go over a list of BOE blue gear for your class and look at what you can obtain on the auction house. You'll be surprised by how cheap some of these things are nowadays. Moving on, we have crafted gear. Similar to blue BOEs, the price of materials, and by extension, the price of crafted gear has dropped significantly, and that gear is still pre-BIS, or even BIS in certain cases. Back when we did our Phase 1 gearing guide video, we put crafted gear at the very last because of how expensive it was to craft, but now it's another story. To talk about hunters again, sorry, that's the class I play and I know the most. The Primal Strike set is a very strong set to have. In fact, I'm still wearing mine deep into phase 1, and this dropped in value significantly since the start of phase 1. Same thing for the Spell Strike gear for casters. Spellcloth has dropped in value with all the alchemists doing their cooldowns every day, and so did the Spell Strike set. So make sure to look for that strong crafted gear for your class, go farm some gold, and quickly gear up by crafting or buying this yourself. This is probably even faster than doing dungeons, to be honest. Next up, we have normal dungeons. Normal dungeons are probably where you'll spend most of your time to gear up your character, and for good reason. There's some very strong gear to get from here. The way it works in TBC is that heroic bosses have the same drop table as their normal ones, with the addition of 1 or 2 pieces generally. So most people will spend most of their time in normal dungeons farming those bosses over and over again until their pre-raid bis item drops. To talk about hunters again, a pre-bis, and bis for that matter, set to obtain is the Beast Lord set, and this drops in normal. I personally did probably 40 plus runs combined of Shattered Hole, Steam Vault, Mechanar, and Botanica to complete my set. And now I'm gonna wear this until I obtain full tier 5. And hunters are not the only class that needs to farm normal over and over again. One example is that pesky Devil Shark Cape, a bis cape in phase 1 for Prot Paladins, and pre-bis for every other tank. So yeah, normal dungeons suck, but you'll be spending a lot of time in these. Next up, we have heroic dungeons. Obviously, the difference here is that you can only do each one of those once every day, and they're significantly harder than their normal counterparts, some more than others. Blood Furnace is an absolute nightmare to do, for example, whereas Ramparts is very easy. But heroics do offer strong gear. Notably an epic from the end boss of each dungeon, and more importantly, badges of justice from every boss. But we'll get to that in a minute. The thing is, now with phase 2, there's a lot more geared players around the world, and those geared players will still be doing heroics until the expansion is over. So as a fresh player, you can get carried quite easily in heroic. I remember trying to do heroics in phase 1 when nobody knew how each dungeon worked, and with badly geared players. It was quite hard, but nowadays, most of the time, going through heroic is a walk in the park. So let's talk about badges of justice now. This is a currency that will be relevant all throughout the expansion. It allows you to buy some heroic/raid equivalent gear from a vendor, and there will be more vendors appearing throughout the expansion selling newer and stronger badge of justice gear as a catch-up mechanic. Unfortunately, there isn't any new badge of justice gear in phase 2, but phase 3 should see a few appearing on the vendor. For this reason, make sure at the very least to pick your badge of justice daily every day and at least do that dungeon for the day. This is the most efficient way to quote-unquote farm badges. And then, if you really want to gear up as fast as possible, make sure to do as many heroic dungeons as possible every day. If you do them all every day, which very few people will do to be fair, you'll be geared up in raid equivalent gear in no time. Next up, obviously, we have raids, a kind of second catch-up mechanic added in phase 2, because with the release of tier 5 raids, tier 4 raids are now nerfed, making them significantly easier to do. Mechtheridon will no longer require a perfect coordination to kill. Nightbane will do significantly less damage, same thing with Shade of Iran and Gruul probably. So tier 4 raids are now in quote-unquote catch-up mode to get you into tier 5 content. And players will be doing Mag, Kara, and Gruul for as long as the expansion runs. The beauty of this era of WoW is that previous raids are not made obsolete with the release of newer raids, so you'll always see players doing tier 4 even when tier 6 is released. Meaning that just like heroic dungeons are easier now to do because more geared players are doing them every day and thus carrying you, so will raids. Now, tier 5 raids are a bit of a different story. I tried them on the PTR and they are noticeably harder than tier 4. Not by a lot, but you can feel the difference. So you'll have to gear up quite a lot before attempting those and not get kicked for low DPS or healing, but you'll get there eventually. Let's now quickly talk about PvP gear. PvP is not everyone's cup of tea, obviously. It's definitely not mine, as you can see, but there are reasons to consider doing PvP outside of wanting to do PvP. First off, in Phase 2, Arena Season 2 is active, and with that, Season 1 gear is now discounted and the rating requirement is removed from it. Season 1 gear is very strong for a lot of classes, even in PvE. For example, Enhancement Shaman's best in slot weapons in Phase 1 is the Gladiator Maces. And with this gear being discounted now and not requiring any arena rating anymore, now is the best time than ever to do 10 arena matches every week, even if you don't really like PvP. This is quickly done and it only takes an hour or so every week to get some base points at the end of the week. And as a reminder, Blizzard announced that there would be more arena points distributed every week to incentivize players to get into PvP. So take advantage of that and get yourself some cheap Season 1 gear. Then obviously, if you're really into it, you can push your rating and go for Season 2 gear. This will be significantly harder to obtain because not only does it cost more, but shoulders and weapons also require a minimum rating. So do this if you want to, but I wouldn't personally if you're just a PvE player. Next up, we have old raids. Blackwing Lair, AQ40, and Naxxramas mostly offer some quite decent gear for a lot of classes. The most famous example is obviously Thunder Fury, the best tanking weapon in the game until Sunwell. But there's also the Neltharion Steer from Nefarian, Mind Quickening Gem from Velastras, the Mark of the Champion trinkets from Naxxramas, and much more. If you're in a high-end guild, they will most likely be doing old raids every week, and since those require 40 players, there will more than likely be a spot for you. So tune in on the fun for those and get some decent gear along the way. Finally, you have world bosses. This is probably the hardest avenue of gearing in TBC. World bosses are not only very difficult to kill, especially on PvP servers, but even getting a tag for one is a feat on its own, because you'll be competing with every other top guild on your server for that tag. And world bosses only spawn twice every week, assuming they get killed right away, so your chances of getting gear from those is quite slim. That being said, the gear they offer is very strong. So yeah, only consider world bosses if you exhausted every other avenue of gearing in the game. And with that, this marks the end of this video. Those were the main avenues of gearing in the game in Phase 2, including the new ones added. If I missed something, please let me know in the comments to benefit everyone, and good luck on gearing up your new characters. With that, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the Classic WoW Curios channel for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next one very soon. Bye for now.